Welcome to Fan4Racing Radio. I'm Fan4Racing Sharon, and joining me today is Jay Huseman and Chris Crichton, and we are here to talk about playoff dominance, tires, and back to the TS. TS, by the way, stands for Truck Series, for our Hot Topic Sound Off episode number 2528. And let's go ahead and get started with our first topic, which is how is the racing at Bristol for the NASCAR Truck Xfinity Cup Series, as well as the ARCA East Series, and also at Roseville for the ARCA West Series. And Jay is frozen. I'm worried that we're going to lose him. Jay, are you still there? Well, hopefully Jay will be able to come back and join us. So, Chris, we'll start with you.
So I guess out of the weekend, I was able to catch the top three, the Truck Series, a little bit of the Xfinity Series, and the Cup Series. All in all, I think it was a great weekend, so to speak. I'm not necessarily sure the truck race was quite as entertaining as what we've seen in the past, or maybe it's a Corey Heim fatigue. I know Lane Riggs, I think, was the one that actually won the race, but typically I would tell you that the Truck Series is the best series on TV, and this year, by far, it's been the Xfinity Series. But I'm just not really sure what the truck race was missing, if it was really missing anything, if it just wasn't, and maybe it just didn't fit my cup of tea. The Xfinity race was really good. I've seen a lot of strategy in it. Of course, a shorter race than the Cup race, so things went a lot quicker. Not that I'm a proponent of things moving quicker, but I think that the strategy played well with the Xfinity Series. Honestly, I think we all thought Connor Zilic had it wrapped up for another win, and a typical Bristol situation happens, and we got to see a different winner. As for the Cup Series, I'm up in the air. Like, so a lot of people were complaining about the tire issue, and I don't really think that there was an issue with the tire. I think that strategically, teams were not prepared for what they were going to experience that night, and so give them the next time out, they'll be better prepared. You went from basically just hauling tail the first segment of the race, the first 30 or 40 laps. When they come in and notice that the tires are cording, all of a sudden we got a different race. And be honest with you, it was the best Bristol race I've watched since 1999. I think that we've found what it is that we thought was missing. I seen slower cars up on the top, faster cars in the closed-in rate. Honestly, if Brad Keselowski had hit Christopher Bell hard enough, or a little bit to the left or to the right, he would have definitely been washed up the racetrack or something to that to that account. So we had, all in all, a great Bristol weekend. I think that just because you didn't have the rough and tough cautions and the crazy restarts in the Truck Series didn't necessarily make it a bad race. It just made it a race that was less appealing than the others throughout the weekend. We obviously had a lot of excitement boiling over in the Cup Series, and that is where it matters most. That's where we have the most views, the most eyes on our product. And I believe NASCAR put on a great product Saturday night. The one concern, the one objection I have, and I think that is something that Kevin Harvick brought to mention, is Saturday night racing is a day of the old, right? We want to have. I was sitting around all Sunday and had nothing to do but watch dang old foosball because the race was Saturday night. If we had held that race off until Sunday night, I think that we would, it would be more pleasant for fans. It's tough, especially this time of year. When Bristol was raced in August, it was basically, a Saturday night. It's hot. People don't want to go out. If you live, I know you're in a different.
I'm in the Midwest.
Yeah, it's hot. August is terrible for the South. Like it's their hottest, most muggiest, most god awful weather. It is the worst month in the South. And so when you get a Bristol night race, it's something you kind of look forward to. But when you're in September, that's big race season for us down south. A lot of our racetracks are already putting on their premier races of the year. And to stack Bristol against those types of races, it's just really sucks. Like, you know, and I can attest to this. Bristol was the same weekend as the Street Stock Nationals for about 7 years. So for 7 years, I didn't get to enjoy the Bristol night race at all because it was basically our premier event. Being in September, I think it's teaching us a little bit more of a lesson that, you know, if you want to really garner the attention of race fans, you need to have your main event on Sundays.
Well, let me just say, I have a theory about why they do it on Saturday nights this time.
I would love to hear that.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons they do it is NFL football on Sundays. Right. They're competing head to head with NFL football on Sundays, and rather than have the same airtime where they're going to maybe lose the audience, they went to a Saturday night during this time of the year so that they've got their own time slot away from the NFL, so that fans can watch both the NFL races as well as their NASCAR Cup Series race. So I think that's what it is. At least that's my theory for it, and why I think NASCAR does the nighttime racing. I heard him say that, Kevin Harvick, and I thought that at the time that he said it. I said he must not be an NFL fan, because if he was an NFL fan, he would understand why NASCAR is doing that.
Yeah, I mean, I do see it's an NBC deal, and they basically have the rights to Cup racing at the time. It's kind of what the situation we're going to be in with the potential NFL starting on President's Day weekend, or the Super Bowl being on President's Day weekend, the same weekend that we start the Daytona 500.
That's never happened before. We usually avoid that.
Right, and I think that Fox is pushing towards that, or they're going to be forced into that by the NFL, and then they're going to have to make a decision. Basically, are they going to stay the premier event for the Daytona 500 if that rolls into effect? I mean, I feel like this. The U.S. Open doesn't care what weekend the NFL starts, right? They don't care. It's been the U.S. Open for years, and that's a perfect example. The Masters, they don't care if that's Talladega weekend. It's the Masters.
Because there's probably not a lot of crossover.
Yeah, I feel like as a race fan that we are entitled to a Sunday night race just as much as an NFL fan is entitled to see the Bucks play the Seahawks. I'm a big Bucks fan. I love Baker Mayfield, and that's my guy, and that's my team. That's why I was held up a minute ago, because I was watching a tremendous comeback by our boy Baker Mayfield. And so, I feel that, like, you don't want to juggle the two. But look, Miss Susan, we're at a point now to where we have multiple abilities to watch two things at once.
Yes.
But
when there's a Saturday night race, it gives me a chance to be out in the yard doing my yard work that needs to be done.
Right. So I can see that. I see where you can agree with that. So anyway, I think I've said enough. Let's bring Jay in, because he dropped out with us.
Okay, Mr. J.
Yeah, just make sure y'all didn't hear what I had to say about my internet, because it is still not quite working right, but hopefully it'll hold long enough here to get it back. So what was the question? I picked up where you're talking about Kevin Harvick, and I did see, see his.
Think about the racing.
Yeah, just how it's racing at Bristol for trucks, Xfinity Cup, ARCA East Series, and then at Roseville for the ARCA West.
Well, that part of Chris's I didn't actually get to hear then. I was as a fan, was absolutely a fan of the way the Cup race came out. I know it wasn't 100% the way they planned it. I understand there's a safety issue when it comes to that, as far as the tire issue, but I didn't see tire blowouts. I saw tire wear out quicker than what they expected, and it brought about some other issues with the fires, and obviously we don't want to see that by any means. I know we had a couple drivers maybe had to be treated for smoke inhalation because of that. But just as a whole, like I said, they weren't blowing out. They knew they were wearing away and then had to make adjustments. And I thought that created some great strategies. The racing, I mean, to me, it exhibited the driver skill, because once they got new tires and you had old tires, I mean, I think of the Reese's Sweet Move of the race for the ARCA series. You saw 100 of those every lap, because, I mean, there were guys ditching and dodging and whatnot, and nobody really wrecked because of it. There were a couple of incidences and close calls, but overall, I mean, it didn't cause the problem. The second thing I looked at, and Sharon, you might appreciate this, when it came to teams then that were able to manage it, because it could be managed, and some teams did. It wasn't necessarily your top teams that I think, like you have said, are pushing that envelope really hard. The teams that were able to manage their tires aren't ones that have a problem passing pre-race tech either on a regular basis. The teams that were seemed to be the ones that had a quicker issue and had to come down even shorter. But even that, Alex Bowman managed it. They knew what boat they were in. They raced accordingly. And, you know, he still had a shot there at the end of a decent finish, top 5, possibly, you know, depending another lap or two, it might have played out a little bit different. So I thought it was great. I know it wasn't, again, what they were expecting. But Sharon, you've said it. This is the top Premier League. And to me, listening to the morning drive and this afternoon then on Dave Moody, it is also that the fans and the drivers asked for this in an aspect. They wanted more control in the drivers and the crew's hands. And trust me, this was all in the drivers and crew hands at that point. You had to manage your tires. You had to race on old tires, whatever it be. So I think the fans should be happy, but somehow or another they weren't. I don't get it. But I thought it was great. I thought it was great. And it goes back to, they've been clamoring, saying they wanted the old Bristol of one lane. You had to root and gouge and push a little bit as far as that. So you saw that the bottom was the preferred lane by all means. So you saw a little bit of that old style Bristol, but you could also make a pass on the high side. Third lane never came in because that's where all the loose rubber was.
Okay, yeah, I thought the racing across the board was pretty good. I know we saw Lane Riggs pretty much dominate the Truck Series race, but I still thought there was some good racing there. Xfinity Series strategy definitely played in there. It was with the Xfinity Series, though, that I thought we were seeing the old Bristol, a little bit of the old Bristol with the one lane, and but drivers were still passing each other. They were still racing. Eric Almirola had the winning strategy. He said his team told him to pit. He decided he was better on the long run. He remembered that, I forget who the driver was now, but he remembered another driver. I think it was Noah Gragson. Noah Gragson had raced on 100 laps on old tires, and he said, I'm gonna give it a shot. So he stayed out, even though his pick told him to come in, and it paid off. So it was a bold move on his part, and it worked out. The ARCA East race and ARCA Menard Series race, that's a separate hot topic that I'm going to bring up later. I think that we need to think about what we're doing in that series. Joe Gibbs is so dominant that you're almost crowning 2 champions. And it's hard for those ARCA Menard Series East drivers to win a race when Joe Gibbs Racing is at the show. And so you've got part-time drivers that are coming in and winning nearly every race. And it's hard. Isaac Kitzmiller didn't win a race, but he won the championship because of his consistency. So I think NASCAR needs to take a look at that, because I think with Joe Gibbs Racing using it as a development series for his drivers and bringing in several different drivers to race that car, I think it's discouraging other drivers from participating in the East Series. So something to think about. We'll talk about that later, but I think it needs to be talked about. The ARCA West Series race, it was really great to see Robbie Keneally win that race. It was on the anniversary of his dad's passing. His dad passed away a year ago due to a heart attack at the track. And it was a very emotional win for him to win that race. And in honor of his dad, Jan Quackenbush, his team owner, giving him that great big hug when he was jumping off the car was pretty emotional, and he was emotional again in Victory Lane. We talked with him today, and again, I really encourage you to listen to the interview with Robbie Keneally. We talked to him at the beginning of the season about expectations and what they were looking to accomplish this year, and so it's really good now to talk to him after he's gotten his first ARCA West Series win about what he was feeling, the emotions he was feeling. And I really love, he showed us his trophy, and there's a really cool connection with the trophy that he earned at that race as well. So I'm really encouraging people to listen to it. That was really cool to see Robbie Keneally get his first win, and especially so soon after his teammate Kyle Keller won at Tri-City Raceway. So some really good things happening there in the ARCA West Series. I would say there's 5 drivers that are very highly competitive in that series. You don't have one driver who's really kind of taking it over. Trevor Huddleston is just 12 points above the second place driver, and I think there's 38 points from 5th to 1st. So it's a really competitive series, and I've really enjoyed watching them this year. Did I cover all of them? We talked about Kevin Harvick's comments about the Saturday night races. Kevin doesn't feel that any races should ever be for a NASCAR Cup Series be on Saturday night. They should all be on Sunday afternoon. And my theory is that NASCAR at this time of the year, when the NFL is starting up their season, they are choosing to not split the viewership between NFL and NASCAR, and choosing to have their races on Saturday night and allowing the fans, because I think there's a lot of crossover between NASCAR fans and NFL fans. And so that gives them a chance to watch the Cup Series race and the NFL races on Sunday. For me, it gives me a chance to do my yard work on Sunday when there's a Saturday night race. So I enjoy having the extra time available to do other things on Sunday. And it gives me a little bit of a break to do that, because my friends are always upset that I'm never available on Sunday because I'm watching a NASCAR race. So I think there's some reasoning behind it for NASCAR. And so I really like the Saturday night races. And I think there's a reason why NASCAR is doing them on Saturday nights. So we'll go. Agreed. Just okay. I was just reading your notes.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Okay, so let's go around the horn one more time. And Mike, I'm calling you Mike now. Chris, I don't know where Mike comes from, but Chris, what are your go around second thoughts? You're on mute.
Sorry, I got a lot of background noise going on. Is this the go around for the weekend or the Kevin Harvick deal?
Well, for whatever you want to talk about.
Yeah, so let's go back to the Xfinity race real quick. A lot happened real quick there, and I think that the takeaway from that, of course, we have a non-playoff eligible driver that won the race, so that's going to put a kind of a kink into how, the difference between the ownership championship and the driver championship, which is kind of, it sucks for whoever's going to finish in that one spot where that car actually, outperforms or whatever. So, in a way it's I kind of don't like that theory. I think if you're not racing full time, I don't know how you fix that problem, to be honest with you. If they could just kind of connect all that into one and it be each individual weekend, I think it would be better as well. But What we had to see with the Haas cars was a good standing. I really feel confident where these guys are going. They're back in Chevrolets next year. Both of these drivers are familiar with the Chevrolet brand. I think kind of all year long, we've been waiting for Haas to show up because they've had a very proven Xfinity series program over the years. And so, it's just been kind of uneventful all season long. I know Sam Mayer got a win not too long ago, and I think that kind of just really added a certain spark back into the program that, hey, we may have been off for a little while, but we've got it back. So to see them and have such a strong run this past weekend is definitely worth noting there. And also, Bubba Wallace, y'all, come on, man. That guy has been basically faster than Kyle Larson through this whole little phase of the three playoff system. And unfortunately, his night got called early because of an incident. And, that's going to be one of those where if he gets knocked out this round, or maybe he'll be able to hang on to it, that may be, unfortunately, a turning point for their miraculous season this year. I think if you would have set the two stats side by side and you would have said who was Tyler Reddick and who was Bubba Wallace, you would have crossed that. You would have thought that Bubba Wallace was having Tyler Reddick's season and Tyler Reddick was having his normal, if you cross the stats without the name being there, you would think opposite of what they are. And that's great for Bubba Wallace, right? The guy's really gotten his butt kicked over the years. People have, carried on something that I think was a mistake. They got brought into mainstream media attention. It did help Bubba Wallace. It helped him secure a lot of sponsorship that's given him the opportunity to race for a top tier team, and he is making the best of it. Throughout most of this playoff program, he was sitting fourth in the points. I mean, that's a heck of a move, and it shows a lot about how far he's come as a race car driver. And so, yeah, I just wanted to make note that shout out to Bubba Wallace. Hate he got wrecked. Hate that happened. But outside of that, I think I pretty well got it set.
Jay, go ahead.
Yeah. All right. Well, the good news there, Chris, is that he's in a Toyota, and I know we got that as a separate hot topic, but the Toyotas are on point right now. So that's a good thing when it comes to that. You're right. Definitely been outperforming overall some of the other contenders. So we'll have to see how it plays out. But the Kevin Harvick thing, and I understand where he's coming from, because from the racer side, he's saying the track, you don't have these temperature issues or whatever, that it grips up and that, it gets slick because it's hot out. So from the racer side is where he's speaking. It is kind of odd being that he is now a media member that he wouldn't understand more of, like Sharon, you were talking about, of why the networks want that spot. I think the whole fans in the grandstands, I think, was another side to it, but they are also looking at that, the heat through some of the summer months. I mean, that's where there's a couple of tracks that they very specifically are doing night racing because of the absolute heat during the summer months. So, I think there's a balance. I'm okay with the few we have. I know when they first started, it was a new thing. Then everybody wanted to do it. And then we had too many and they weren't as popular. So you go back to that. I think Bristol is one that, honestly, the fall race should stay a night race. I mean, it's not just the Bristol race. It's the Bristol night race. It's been known that way. Richmond, it worked out better. They went back to a day race. Each track is a little bit different, but there is so many levels and so many, I can't think of the right word, investors in it, that to try and make everybody happy. I think Kevin Harvick was being a little uncompromising of my way is the only way. But yeah, overall, you mentioned the Xfinity series. I know Eric Almirola mentioned that, of not wanting to get beat by JRM anymore. And he said it during a post-race interview of basically, knowing that what Connor Zilisch and some of the others, when they pitted, he said, if we pit the same as them, they maybe are a little bit better. So we just got to do something different. And they were talking about that, of how that conversation was going to go, because whether or not the crew chief knew that was his plan or if it really was, from what I watched during the race and initially heard, they called him in, said, come in, and he chose at the last minute to not. I mean, it was 100% his decision. I got the steering wheel. This ain't going to work, and to question that now, I think it's funny, because like when a crew chief makes a call, they always say if it works, he's the greatest ever. If it don't, he's to blame. Well, you can't blame Eric Almirola. You can't argue with him. He won the race. So, it's kind of tough to argue against his decision, right? Maybe he should have been more on board with the team, or maybe not. We don't know. And you can't say one way or the other. Even they were talking about second place then of choosing to choose. Well, if I'd have chosen the Hailie, but one little thing like that, it's not just that one thing. It may have given you a better start, but who would have went to the bottom and got under you, slid up the track, wiped you out? You just don't know. So to second guess all of that, and like I said, you can't argue with Eric. He ended up winning, so he wins that argument this time. But no, I think the racing was great. I understand that temperature with the track that really threw him a curveball for the second time. But I go back to, I still thought both of the races at Bristol where that's happened, they've been able to manage it. When you go back to Indianapolis a few years ago, there was no managing that. I mean, zero. So, yeah, Sharon, you're on mute if you're trying to chime in there. But so I don't consider it a disaster. Was it a curveball? Absolutely. Some handled it. And I want to give a shout out. Talk about from the last time this happened, young driver Ty Gibbs stood on the gas, burned his tires up, couldn't go nowhere. He showed you can learn and adjust. If he hadn't made a mistake getting to pit road too fast and having to go around an extra time, then having a problem in the pit stop, I think he still came back to finish 10th. He had a shot at winning, and he was managing his tires. So big shout out to Ty Gibbs.
Yes, I agree. I thought, and I meant to mention that before about the tires. I agree with you guys. I thought the tire management thing was good. It's what they've been asking for. They got it. I was kind of thinking maybe they went a little bit too far, because I was amazed at how much rubber there was on the track. They actually, during the stage break, they had to go around and clean up the rubber, the marbles that were on the track from all the tires. And some of the shots that they showed when they were changing tires and how much brake dust was falling off of those cars was pretty incredible. So they might have gone maybe just a tad bit too far. I don't want them to go too far the other way, because I think this was exactly what the drivers and everybody was looking for.
But that had to do with the temperature and then the track not taking rubber, and NASCAR can't control that. If it had been, they said even single digits, a little bit higher, the track would have taken the rubber and we wouldn't have had it as bad. Again, you're right, they wanted to go softer and get the tire wear, but this is the second time, and they've determined that it has to be the temperature and then the track not. Because what was it they said? Saturday during practice, they were going 70 laps without any issue whatsoever. So they were honestly totally unexpected.
And I want to do a shout out for Goodyear too, because Goodyear recognized the situation and reacted to that as well, and put together an extra set of tires for every team that needed them. So they were ready and prepared, and I really liked what I saw there too. So I wanted to give a shout out to Goodyear for reacting and supplying that extra set of tires for the teams. As far as Haas Factory team, yeah, that was really cool to see. I felt bad for Sheldon Creed though. 15 runner-up finishes for Sheldon Creed, and runner-up again. We've got to start calling him Mr. Runner-up, because he just has dominated in that category. For 15 races, he's been a runner-up guy. But his win is coming. I think it's coming. It's just a matter of time. Sam Mayer really wanted to get by him. He wanted to be in that second place spot. It just wasn't going to happen They were racing so hard. It opened the door really. It was really that restart when Keselowski gave Almirola that shove. It was a square on shove, and you're right, Chris. If he had been a little bit to the right or a little bit to the left, it probably would have been a little bit different story.
Yeah, I think that was Bale. That was Bale Keselowski hit.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, that was the Cup. That was in the Cup side.
You're right.
It happens.
Thank you. I'm crossing over in races.
Yeah,
here.
no, you were right, though. The Haas cars were racing each other and may have allowed, actually, Eric Almirola to get away.
Yes.
Because obviously Sam Mayer seemed to be quicker there on the restart, but he was having to race his teammate. And look, I'm not mad at either one of those guys for having to race it out for second. Right.
We didn't have the Formula One thing because the broadcaster said it. He was going to have to get by his teammate quick in order to use those good fresh tires and run him down. And Sam Mayer did not just give it to him. He fought him for it. And I think, too, that's what held him up. And I don't remember what the margin of victory was, but Sheldon was certainly coming. And just, I say another 2 laps at most, and I think we'd have had at least a battle.
Yeah, I think he would have given, if he'd had another lap or 2, he would have maybe gotten by Eric Almirola. And had he not been trying to fend off his teammate, he might have. And I would think that at Haas Factory Team, I don't know if they're going to have that conversation or not. They want their drivers to want that position. And I get that. But with them fighting each other, neither one of them were able to really compete.
But we don't want to see the collusion between a team or manufacturer or anything either. I mean, that's where,
That's true. So, so I thought that was really good to see for Haas Factory Team. Ty Gibbs, I agree with you. Ty Gibbs, I thought he might win this thing in the early part of the race. He was really doing a great job. And you're right. He showed that he had learned some things about tire management and taking care of things. And this is one of those cases where going slower might have helped you go faster with the tire management. And the veteran drivers knew that, and they knew how to manage it, as well as the crew chiefs. I mean, a lot was in the crew chiefs' hands with this, but Eric Almirola showed them that the drivers can make their own decisions when it comes to these things too. So I thought that was kind of cool too. Bubba Wallace, he's having a pretty good year, Bubba Wallace. We'll have to see if that continues throughout the playoffs, and if he's able to get through to that Final Four. And we'll talk about that maybe in a few minutes too. But I really enjoyed the racing at Bristol. I enjoyed the racing at Roseville. I thought it was good all the way around in all of the series that we're racing this weekend. So what's our next topic, Chris?
Let's do the Toyota one. Is Toyota, what is it? Is Toyota priming themselves for a late championship run? Is that kind of what it was?
Yeah, the playoff dominance of Joe Gibbs Racing.
Yeah, they found something right now, and it's working for them. You know, you want to get hot, but at the right moment. Is this too soon? You know, are they hot now only to cool off later? They swept the 3 races, so I don't know. And each of them were individual drivers, so it's hard to tell. Like, I guess we've had 3 different racetracks to judge from, but it doesn't really go into what's going to happen in the next 6 races. Right. It's just hard to say that that's a significant carryover to the next races. I mean, typically you don't really see a same manufacturer, same team win with 3 different drivers consecutive weeks. That's kind of a little bit off the chart there that they're even able to accomplish that. Do I think that Denny Hamlin has what it takes to bid for a championship throughout the year? Absolutely. Is this his final year to get it done? I really think that could be. Like, you had Kevin Harvick won 9 races one year and then only won 1 race after that, right? So you just don't know when that's gonna turn off. When that faucet's going to go dry. So is he setting himself up to go into the Final Four? Sure. Chase Briscoe, he's been the hidden gem all year long. Like midway through the season, I'm ready to throw my hat at the TV and say, what in the heck? Like, let's get rid of James Smalls, because I had high hopes that Briscoe was going to come in and really get it done. Like, he understood the assignment, right? Like, he was going to come in and he was going to blast some heads. And then it didn't happen like that. But then all of a sudden you've seen the speed in the poles, and now that thing's rocking like a rock and roll horse. So you know, it's interesting to see this type of dominance from a certain manufacturer. In a way, I'm a little bit scared. My question is, where in the heck are these Fords at? Where are they gonna be? Where, you know, like, what are they waiting on? You know, but we'll talk about Toyota, and I'll send it to Jay.
Yeah, well, and once again, I think it's Ford set the standard in what Penske has done the past 3 years of when it comes playoff times, whether they've been strong all year or not, all of a sudden they show up. This year it's been pretty much Ryan Blaney by himself. But when you look at Toyota as a manufacturer, Joe Gibbs Racing obviously being the top Toyota team, and all three drivers, and I hadn't pieced that really together in my head of it was one each from Joe Gibbs Racing to win these first three races. So, but just overall, when you look at it, and when I say Chevy, kind of look at HMS, you know, we talked about maybe Darlington and then Gateway not being their best tracks, but even so, just seem to be off. You know, Kyle Larson, the season he's had, we haven't seen him like that. Honestly, going back to the Indy Charlotte double is where they want to point the finger to that, but certainly had one. I think they said it showed it was like 18th, 30 something, and a fifth or something. When you look at Fords, even Joey Logano, again, some of that at Bristol was a strategy and the way things worked out. But here in the playoff races has been back to at least top 10, sniffing around the lead, not up front leading and dominating. But so I don't know that they're completely out of it, but they need to stay on it because Toyota is clearly on the gas. Now, like you said, can they sustain it through the 10 races? I really think so. I mean, when you look at Denny Hamlin with the bonus points he has, pretty much kind of pencil him in. We thought Chase Briscoe with how he's been running as of late. Christopher Bell was the one that we wondered what happened. Early in the year, he won 3 in a row. And then all of a sudden, yeah, he disappeared. Well, he's been back with them. And then you mentioned Bubba Wallace. Again, it's the Toyota 2311. Tyler Reddick got into the playoffs, although not a win, at least was their top 5, top 10. I don't know that I saw a whole lot on him from Bristol, honestly. So it's a matter, he's another kind of that question mark. But I think as an organization right now, they're focused on these 10 races of the playoffs, and they've delivered in the first 3. We still got math 10, 3, 7 to go. Sorry. I'm getting old. I get my memory shot. All right. 7 more races. And that's the whole point of the playoffs. You've got to sustain it over those 10 races and be on point. And right now, Toyota absolutely is.
Yeah, I read a great article by Bob Pockrass today about this very subject. And he says one thing that you got to remember is in the 5 years since Phoenix Raceway has held the championship race, JGR has not won the championship. Hendrick Motorsports won the first 2, and then Team Penske won the last 3. So even though they won the first 3 races in this playoff, they're not planning to wear that crown just yet. They're a little they're waiting to see, but they did say that they found something recently that has helped them with the speed of their car, and that has really made a difference for them. They're in a really good spot right now. We as a Toyota group, and specifically Joe Gibbs Racing, but we've got a long way to go to get to Phoenix, and it's going to be a hard road, and I think everybody knows that. We haven't brought specifically a spec upgrade, but we have made some minor improvements to the performance over the course of the last 6 or 8 weeks. Tyler Gibbs said from Toyota, and he's not related to Joe Gibbs, after the Hamlin win. So they found something that's really helping these Joe Gibbs racing cars right now. Could it take them all the way to the championship? Possibly, but they're not counting their chickens before they're hatched. The speed of the Toyotas have not gone unnoticed by the competition. Ford driver Joey Logano, after Gateway, admitted that Toyota appears to have the edge. They're ridiculously fast, Logano said. We've got a lot of grip. They've got a lot of grip. They've got a lot of horsepower, a lot. We've got a lot of work to do to catch up, and they're really, really fast. So, there is something there with them finding something that is helping them. And you remember, it hasn't been that long ago since we were talking about Hendrick Motorsports being the team that everybody would have to go through because Chevrolets were having such a spectacular year this year. But I remember saying it's not going to be long before these teams are going to catch up to Hendrick Motorsports. It does concern me that they were dominating. And if Joe Gibbs Racing dominates, that kind of concerns me too. But this sport has a way of teams catching up with what was working for their car. And we're seeing that happening right before our eyes, where Joe Gibbs Racing now has found that competitive edge, and it's really working for them to start off these playoffs. So it's not going to surprise me if they do make it all the way to Phoenix, despite some of the stats that are brought up. It's definitely not going to be easy because we've got all the different types of tracks that we've got to race. But I do think that they found something that's working really, really well for them right now. And I talked about the Joe Gibbs Racing domination in the ARCA East Series, and it is definitely there. None of the regular East Series drivers were able to get a win this season because there was always that number 18 Joe Gibbs Racing vehicle in the race that won all of the races. So Isaac Kitzmiller, I got to give him credit. He was consistent enough that he was able to win the championship and the driver's title, but that owner's title was all the way Joe Gibbs Racing. So time will tell whether that's going to hurt the ARCA East over time. In my way of thinking, I think it's going to discourage drivers for entering the East Series on a full-time basis, especially if Joe Gibbs Racing is going to be racing a different driver in there every week and winning all of those races. So I think NASCAR or ARCA, whoever, is going to have to take a look at that and see what they can do about that, because the East can't keep experiencing that. Drivers want to win races. And if there's one car that's dominating all the races in that series, that's a problem. So just my thoughts on the Joe Gibbs Racing, courtesy of Bob Pockris, and some of his thoughts in his article. So, Chris, the second go around here.
Yeah, I mean, Toyota, you got to think about 2 top 20 finishes by Legacy Motor Club. Once again, another strong performance out of them. And if I'm not mistaken, Corey Haim may have 2 top 5 finishes or 2 top 10 finishes.
Well, he was a top 6 driver this weekend in the Cup Series.
Okay, yeah, and Riley Herbst has none.
That's kind of sad. He's in the Ford.
That's the talent. Hold on, guys. I got a call on the fire department thing. Hold on 1 second.
All right.
Okay.
Now, remember, Riley Herbst did come to 2311. He is in a Toyota. So.
Oh, that's right. He is now.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. But he's in his first year, and I think it takes some getting used to.
Yeah, I know that. Oh, you got it back, Chris?
Yeah.
Go ahead and finish what you're at.
Yeah, so just Corey Haim and John Hunter Nemechek, Eric Jones, Legacy Motor Club. Sorry.
We've seen it.
Yeah. I mean, strong performance by Toyota. Can they keep it up through the playoffs? Maybe, maybe not. I think the biggest question mark is Christopher Bell real? Is this real? Is he back? Because
I
he took
think
the whole
so.
summer off. And, how much of a real threat is he for the championship? Because I think he's been in the last 4?
Well, remember last week he had a big blow up.
Yeah,
in his
that's it.
car.
That's where I was going to go, Sharon. Wait your turn.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, he was frustrated with his team. He says, "I've had enough of this." So,
Right.
okay.
I didn't expect him to win. I mean, in the last last couple of laps, he was the one that was there. So he hadn't really been talked about the whole race. That's how you get it done, though. I mean,
Yeah.
it's the last lap that counts. But yeah, I guess we're all going to sit back and see if this roller coaster of a ride can bring one Toyota a championship. It's until you beat Penske. I think that they're obviously going to be the favorite rolling in. Ryan Blaney has had magnificent speed. He's had a couple of hiccups that have kind of gotten in the way from maybe a couple of wins here of late. But, right now, the bullseye is on Toyota.
Okay, Jay.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. Right now, they are the ones that are carrying that target. Like I said, of Ryan Blaney, especially when it comes for Team Penske leading the way. Joey Logano, and we've seen that he can be eliminated from the playoffs and all of a sudden get back in it, come back and win it. It happens. But right now, I mean, I personally, and I know we have that as another topic of, I show maybe 3, even possibly 4 Toyotas. Believe it or not, I think it could happen, but there too, Hendrick Motorsports, they're not going to just sit back and take what they've gotten so far. The one thing I will look at, and Sharon, you mentioned it, was the fire from Christopher Bell, because he was, very unhappy last week, had some words with the crew chief, and they talked about that. They did talk on Monday. They as a team, they respect each other. Okay, you're upset, you're frustrated. Let's talk about it, get on the same page. And they did. Ryan Blaney's another one of those of one week it may be that frustration. He does express it over the radio, but they come together as a team. And that's where you look at championship team, of recovering from these things, working through these things. Think back to Jimmy Johnson and Chad Knaus. You got to sit down and have some milk and cookies. They're still going to set all differences aside and work together and get that championship. So I think right now they are in a good place, going in a good direction. How about that? Again, whether it's sustainable or not is that question. When I look at New Hampshire, though, and Christopher Bell said that, I mean, they're in the Xfinity series. I think he had won 3, maybe 4 in a row, or had a shot at 4 in a row. And that has correlated over to the Cup Series. So he is looking forward to going to New Hampshire. I know that. Mm-hmm. And maybe even go back to back. So we'll have to wait and see. I think it's going to be real interesting. My question mark, Chris had that question mark on Bell, is whether or not HMS gets their stuff together, because they're the ones to me that I understand Joe Gibbs and Toyota found something, they're on fire right now, but you at least got to hang with them. And in my opinion, they haven't been. I mean, they have been wheels coming off, Kevin Harvick style. You win 9 races and all of a sudden you can't get out of your own way, is the concerning question for me.
Yeah, surprisingly so. I expected HMS to come out really strong, and they just haven't done it. But Joe Gibbs Racing has. And so whatever it is that they found, it's working for them and working well. And speed is one of the things that a lot of drivers say that they're lacking and they need. So whatever they found that's giving them more speed, that is the key word right there. HMS, I have no doubt they'll catch up. They're smart people at HMS, a little bit too smart for their britches sometimes, but we'll see what happens. And Joey Logano, keep in mind, Joey Logano is really good at New Hampshire, and that race is coming up. I don't know, which track was it that he won at that put him into the playoffs? Do you remember? Was it
the one? Joey Logano, I actually remember because he didn't win the race. The one year where he said he had to fight his way in, that was at Martinsville with Martin Truex Jr. is one of the years. I don't remember if that was as far back as 2018. It was Alex Bowman DQ that got him in. I'm trying to remember what one race triggered his.
Let me see if I can find it here. But yeah, I think New Hampshire is one of his better tracks. So
it is, because it's one of his home tracks. He's another one that has a couple of home tracks being from the New England area.
Yes, you're right. And maybe he hasn't. Oh, Logano won at Texas Motor Speedway.
That's right.
Is where he got his win, which is a 1.5 mile track. So Las Vegas is coming up. Kansas is a 1.5 mile track. Then you've got the road course at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Las Vegas isn't until the round of 8. And then you got Talladega and Martinsville and then Phoenix. So yeah, so it's not necessarily going to be a piece of cake, but I think that they have found something that's really going to help them. And you know, we're going to see some other drivers win, but it's going to be an interesting playoff, I think.
Yeah, let's walk back to HMS real quick, since we're going to circle all the manufacturers here. Chase Elliott, I thought would be kind of a favorite going into Bristol. Obviously, they shot themselves in the foot. William Byron created an incident while he was a lap down, and NASCAR did the right thing, and they didn't give him the lucky dog, which I think surprised most of us that are waiting to see the next time NASCAR
Thumbs up to NASCAR.
HMS a pass. But then 40 laps down the road, Mr. Kyle Larson breaks a right rear toe link and spins it out purposely at the wall, and NASCAR throws the caution for him. And these guys give it to him. It took a minute, a minute and 40 seconds to change a toe link. Look, so they said that it was prepared over the wall, that they already had it prepared. But we went from
why
having
would they have that already prepared? There's something fishy.
Right. Right. I'm glad you take it too, because there was given time for these guys to fix a toe link at the beginning. Now all of a sudden we're doing it in the black helicopter. I feel you, buddy. I feel you. But geez Louise, a minute and 40 seconds to change a toe link. Are you serious? So hey, he spun it out. We all know he spun it out on purpose. NASCAR didn't call him out for that. They quickly threw the caution. But over I think I read on Twitter, over the radio, it was said that basically NASCAR was going to have to throw the caution anytime that they could, at fear that they were going to run out of tires. And we've seen several drivers that were out of tires there at the end. I believe Joey Logano was actually one of them. But the one other thing that I think that we're missing out of all of this, and this can kind of go into the manufacturer side, is we're questioning, basically when Ford's going to show up. But unfortunately, we didn't get to see Roush Fenway Keselowski get it together during the regular season. But boy, they have sure made a statement here in the postseason. Yeah, and it's been a wild ride for Keselowski. You just kind of are hoping that he can get him a couple more, because time is not on his side.
When he gets that win, it's going to be a huge celebration.
It will be. It will be, not just by Brad, but I think a legion of fans as well that are just waiting to see him be able to celebrate in victory lane. I think he did get a win, right? He's won at least once in the 6 car, right? Hasn't he?
Yeah, last year at Darlington, because that's what got him into the playoffs.
So, yeah, but hey, just to ask you guys, did y'all see it as a way of respect on how he hit Bell? We kind of knew that was coming. Do you think that he hit him flush in the rear to just try to see if he would lose his line and could get up or anything? Because clearly Brad Keselowski could have wrecked Christopher Bell.
Well, Brad Keselowski said he made a mistake. He should have chose the opposite lane that he chose. I think he wanted.
That's the one that I said questioned of if he'd have taken a different lane, would it have made the difference? And he said one little thing can change so many other things, because now you got where does Bell go? does Bell give you a good push? That's the interview I said that I quoted earlier of, you can say you could have done this different, but that changes everything. So you don't know how everything else would have played out either.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, it's a coulda, woulda, shoulda kind of thing that happens with all drivers when they just miss it. So, but I think when he does hit it, everybody's going to celebrate that victory.
I got a couple things there of specifically talking about that situation you asked about as far as Keselowski hitting Bell. One, as the driver, you're not looking to, Brad's not one unless he feels he's got a vendetta, and that goes back to him and Denny Hamlin, to really run through somebody. Is he going to do the bump and run? Absolutely. And he tried it, I think he did intentionally hit to where he wasn't going to right hook him. But also give credit to Bell. And I've been working these county fairs with the jump and run. A driver knows how to take a hit. They know it's coming, so they know how to take it and drive off of it. And I think Bell was prepared for it too. Know he's going to get hit, how to maintain, gather it up. So I think that was respectful and good talent on both sides. Because we certainly could have saw that. Again, you go back to, I hate to bring it up, but Austin Dillon, he just threw it in there as like, I'm going to win. Let everything else fall where it may. And Brad knows that, and he knows that NASCAR is not going to tolerate that. So could he have done that? Yeah, because he had a good deep run into the corner. But he did it professionally, in my opinion. I thought Bell did a great job of handling it and taking it from that aspect. But I want to give Brad a big shout out. You talk about that of the year he's had. The first part of the season is where they struggled. When we did the in-season championship, he was in 31st and 32nd. Ty was still 32nd, so 31st in points. He has gotten himself up into the teens as far as that. So, they definitely did turn it on, found whatever the problem was, got the monkey and took him out back and whooped him or whatever, because it was no longer on their back. It's just a little too little too late, is what I was trying to say there. The ones that concerned me was the other two teams in Buescher and Priest, because it really seemed like Priest, especially up to midway through the season, was, hey, they're going to get 2 out of the 3 in the playoffs. They kind of fell off a little bit and were just outside, unfortunately, the playoff cut line, because they too didn't get the win to lock themselves in, and they came up just a little bit short on the point side.
Yeah. I think I said everything I wanted to say there. Okay, so Jay, you get to choose our next top topic.
A lot of people are jumping on this as black and white. I don't know if it's black and white, but Denny Hamlin did talk about his contract being for 2 years, and possibly, he had the word possibly in there, of hanging it up after that. I know there's still that talk of whether or not he'll drive for his own team, but we don't even know if his team's going to be here in 2 years, so won't go down that road. But there is a lot of talk now, especially when it comes to Corey Heim. I heard today on the radio they were talking about that. Will Corey Heim willingly go to the Xfinity or do this hodgepodge schedule of Cup trucks and Xfinity for 2 years and get that coveted JGR ride? Again, Hamlin didn't say, hey, I am hanging it up in 2 years. He said, my contract goes 2 years. That'd be about the time to look at retirement. And then also threw in, he said, well, honestly, if I win the championship this year and I want to walk away on top, maybe I drop it now, So I think it's Denny Hamlin playing some mind games. He is in that range of just under 50. And we've seen that with many drivers in recent years, that 45 to 50 is where they're looking at that now, especially when it comes to being competitive and hanging with these 18, 19-year-old kids. That was from one of our hot topics where it was just me and Sharon. That was when Hamlin had made the comment he might walk away if he won the championship and not even fulfill his contract. I don't see that happening. Even if he wins the championship, I don't see him walking away with 2 years on his contract, but we've seen stranger things. So it'd be really interesting, and we talked about that. We think he is in a good place and got a shot at this year's championship to see how much that really does influence him. but he's got to do it first.
Okay, Chris, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm not so far away to think that there could be a driver trade at the end of the season. And Denny Hamlin gets released from Joe Gibbs, or maybe Joe Gibbs still pays him to go drive for 2311. Because Tyler Reddick is the real question here. Does Toyota allow Tyler Reddick to leave ship? Has Toyota come in and said, look, no matter what happens in this lawsuit, you're a Toyota driver, and so that means that you will have a ride? We all, in a perfect world, want to see Denny Hamlin retire with Joe Gibbs Racing in the 11 car. But, circumstances that are looming in the near future could completely change or dictate how that looks. And I think that we're too far-fetched to believe that that somewhere or another, in order to get Denny Hamlin out of this situation or get Tyler Reddick out of this situation, does Toyota put their chips and to risk losing a blue chip prospect or somebody who they think is the future for Toyota Racing, when it's a simple fix of just putting Denny Hamlin over on his own team and giving that fourth slot to Tyler Reddick. Outside of that, a perfect world, we'll see Denny Hamlin retire with Joe Gibbs Racing in 4 more years, not 2 years, but 4 more years, because I don't see Denny really, if he comes out next year and has a successful year, is he going to hang it up while he's still good? Denny just doesn't seem that type. You're closing in on the top 10 winningest drivers in the Cup Series. You might as well just stick around and see if you can track down a couple more, right? I mean, if you're winning, you're winning. When you quit winning, that's when it sucks. That's when you want out of it. But right now, it's hard to see him walking away while he's still winning races on a week-to-week basis.
And that was his statement, was he didn't want to, he wanted to be able to walk away while winning, which is what led to him saying he might, even if he won the championship this year. I see him maybe going to like Martin Truex and it becoming a year by year, honestly.
Yeah, like Mike Tyson said, everybody's got a plan until you get hit in the mouth. And if he
punched in the mouth.
And who knows? Like, I don't think I ever expected Elway to win a Super Bowl and walk away. So it does happen.
Yep.
So maybe he wins the championship this year and says, "Look, I'm going to go focus on my business operation and give Tyler Reddick the seat over at Joe Gibbs Racing." I don't know what's going to happen, and I think that nobody really knows what's going to happen right now with this lawsuit that's looming, and it will impact Denny Hamlin's career. Whatever the outcome is, will definitely, and we're not going to argue that right now. I'm not trying to open that for discussion, but what I am trying to say is whatever the outcome is on December 1st will have a major impact on Denny Hamlin's career, whether it be good or bad. So those are the big question marks that we're left to have up until that resolution has been solved.
Yeah, the one thing I do know about Denny Hamlin is I call him a media hound. There's been a few drivers that are kind of like that. They like to have their name in the conversation, and they will say and do a lot of different things in order to have people talking about it. And that's what this, I think, is all about. Although, it is possible, and I can argue both sides of this. I think Denny Hamlin is looking at a potential retirement within the next couple of years. And I think there's a couple of reasons for that. One is, if he wins a championship, maybe he does want to go out on top. And I think this year, of all the years that I've seen Denny Hamlin contend, he's probably closer this year than I've seen him in a lot of years. He seems to be a little bit more mature in some ways and not so mature in other ways. But he does seem to be hit or miss. Like this year or this week, he didn't really have the best of Bristol races this week, while his teammates were having a really good race. So I think he's a little hit or miss there. Maybe he was trying something different for Joe Gibbs. I don't know. But I think that the lawsuit has a lot to do with whether or not what Denny Hamlin's going to do over the next couple of years. So we'll have to wait and see how that plays out as well. And I don't necessarily want to get into that conversation right now either. I know we've got part of it on our table tonight, but There's a lot of ways that this can go for Denny Hamlin. He is a very talented driver. Nobody disputes that. But Denny Hamlin likes to have his name in the conversation, especially during the playoffs. And I think this is one way of making that happen.
Yeah, may I add that Rusty Wallace's biggest regret was leaving the NASCAR Cup Series too soon?
Yeah.
Does Denny Hamlin really want to make that decision when you're literally at the top of your career? If you win one championship, why don't you go win two? And honestly, guys, if I were to put money right now on anybody to win the championship this year,
it might be him.
It would be Denny Hamlin. I would bet my money on Denny Hamlin. I don't know why I would bet my money, and at the end of the year, I can get a pie in the face if that's what y'all want to do. But I would put a pie in my face. I would bet. Well, if you listen to Dan Patrick, you understand what I mean, because they take wagers all the time, and so a pie in the face is like literally. I believe wholeheartedly that Denny Hamlin will carry himself into Arizona, into Phoenix, and win the championship just because of what's going on with this outside distraction. You see, that's what makes an athlete. An athlete can be at his best when everything else is at its worst. That's why Michael Jordan was so mesmerizing, because no matter what he was up against, it fed him to be the beast that he was. And I feel like there's a reason why Michael Jordan and Denny Hamlin are friends. Michael Jordan seen that in Denny. The first time that I seen it in Denny Hamlin was when he had his first leg operation and he went out and won California. Like this guy was hurt. He's on pain pills, for crying out loud.
Well,
and
look
he goes
at
out
Connor
there.
Zillich. Same thing.
Look at Connor Zillich, a perfect example of now. Right. So that just separates the athlete from the man. The man's going to suck his thumb. Oh, I can't believe, But an athlete is going to say, no, I took it personal, and I'm going out to win this. And I think right now, Denny Hamlin is taking it personal against NASCAR, and you're going to see the best he's ever been because of that.
Possibly. Jay?
I'll take a pie in the face. Do I get a bet?
I'll take the bet, but I don't want money. I want Mountain Dew. That's my terms of cash. As far as the pie in the face
I get a pie in the face. You don't get anything. I mean, you're
the one that wants. You seem to want the pie. No.
No, you have to bet the pie in the face.
I don't have to bet at all. I've proven that. I got away from that. That's why I was going with Mountain Dew.
I don't want you to do anything that you don't want to do. I would hate to put peer pressure on you.
Oh my goodness.
No, I was just saying that. But I do see where you're willing to put that money on, or Mountain Dew, whatever your currency, on Denny Hamlin. He showed that he's leading as far as wins. Yeah, Bristol, and it really surprised me when it comes to Bristol, because he was the one last time that did the tire management when nobody else did. Exactly. So, yeah, I think there's something else that was a little off with the team for whatever reason. Or, again, they were just too aggressive on their setup. They couldn't find that balance. But the one thing you talked about, and I think the big thing, Sharon hit on the maturity. Several of the years when he didn't win the championship, it destroyed him. And I know he admitted he had gone to a sports psychologist, just like Bubba Wallace. In his case, it's having the child, to be able to separate that and not take it that way, to defeat that hard. So I think he is in a good place. And yes, he is one that, as you said, kind of thrives on that, which is maybe why he's stirring other things up. And that's where I compared him to Kevin Harvick. Start playing those mental mind games with people, that, embracing the heel role with the fans. Right now it's get on the bandwagon or get run over by it, that he does seem to be feeding off of that. And maybe that is what's working for him. The one thing I wanted to go back to, though, you're saying he's out of, and I don't see this by any means. I don't see Joe Gibbs. I didn't see Kyle Busch leaving Joe Gibbs Racing either. But
could happen.
The sponsors that came on board, I think, were connected to Denny. So I just don't know if I see that. You got a point of if Toyota says, hey, we want to keep these drivers. If it's not with 2311, we have to guarantee them something. Legacy Motor Club comes into play. But they got their own lawsuit, unfortunately, for a third charter. you're talking one driver of Tyler Reddick. What about Bubba Wallace? Excuse me. That seems to be more of the conversation from one aspect. Tyler Reddick has filed for the breach of contract, so is apparently, from my understanding, free to talk to others. I don't know that Bubba Wallace has. He has pretty much said, I'm not going to talk about the outside of it from that aspect. So that's where it gets interesting. Honestly, from sponsorship side, it seems like sponsors are more willing to work with Bubba Wallace. So that too becomes a question. Which ones are the sponsors going to back and deal with? But you got two drivers there, so you can't just say, well, it's Tyler Reddick. Where's he going to go? And like I said, I know that he has actually filed for the breach of contract if he so chooses to act upon it. Again, so many things tie into the thing we're not going to talk about.
Yeah. Okay, well, I agree with everything you guys have said. There's so many different ways that this can go. So I guess we just have to kind of wait it out and see what actually happens. Let's see what the next hot topic can be here. Daniel Suarez to Spire. Have you guys been hearing that?
I had heard it. I don't know if there's been any more fuel added to that fire. I know Daniel Suarez said he was getting close to wanting to talk about his future. Was there something new that came out recently that maybe I missed?
That's what I was wondering too.
Okay. I had heard it.
On your list.
Oh, that was from last week. That wasn't this week's. But again, it is there of that because it goes back to Justin Hailie. And again, we've seen Justin Hailie do a little bit better, whether that's to keep his ride or show other teams what he's capable of. Don't know. I still think at the end of the year, my opinion is that Spire Motorsports does go with somebody else. I think there are several options. And that goes back to a discussion I heard today when they were talking about it. If Toyota cannot give Corey Heim a cup ride in the next 2 years, is he willing to talk to other manufacturers and possibly have to break his Toyota contract? Because you're right, he is a Toyota contracted driver, but how long does he wait for them to find him a ride? And I know we saw it with Christopher Bell, that he was ready to move up and they put him in the Xfinity one more year. You know, they said, wait one more year. And he did do it. So maybe we do see Corey Heim go to the Xfinity for 2 years and then he gets that number 11 JGR ride. But now we're talking about then where does Tyler Reddick, Bubba Wallace go? And that's where I go back to legacy. I do think we may see, this is kind of what I thought from the beginning, and I know this is off of Daniel Suarez, but Corey Heim being the third one legacy is going to get for 2 years, like we saw with Eric Jones at Furniture Row back when he teamed with Martin Truex. That was to wait until they could get him into the Joe Gibbs main umbrella. That unfortunately didn't pan out, but that's what I always thought with legacy. There again, there's been a couple. If it's in the Cup Series, there aren't a whole lot of open spots for Daniel Suarez. So Spire Motorsports seems to be the main one. When you talk about Xfinity, then you look at Dale Earnhardt Jr., Junior Motorsports. I know there was some rumor, and there again, you look at Colleague Racing with the Dodge. Could he go to the Truck Series and be part of that if he's willing to go to the Truck Series? I know he's hinted he wants to be in Cup, and he's at least got a conversation going with somebody that, like I said, that's the only open, really not even open, but could be open. So you kind of got to put those pieces together.
Okay, Chris?
Yeah, I think I've stated this before in a previous show. Right now, silly season is so stalemate. You're not going to get anything until there's some direct idea of what's going to happen. I mean, it's the looming question in NASCAR right now. It's NASCAR. What's going to happen? Because you're literally, you could, if you had an opening in the 7 car, you could get Zane Smith back. Zane Smith, look at the stats on Zane Smith. That was That was a
That was
tough
pretty
dig to let
impressive.
him go away from Spire because the kid obviously has talent. He's coming off of a third place finish this past weekend. Zane Smith has the talent to be a Cup Series driver, and he's proved that. So, do you bring Zane Smith back to replace Justin Hailie, Noah Gregson, Tyler Reddick, Bubba Wallace? There's all of these suspected names out there. Until there's a definite decision there, I just don't see them. There's no reason to sign that contract. Look, that driver will sign that contract a week before the Daytona 500. You just better have everything else in place to make sure all your ducks are in a row if you're going to bid for a championship. I'm not sure that the 7 team is ready to bid for a championship, but they don't have to be in any rush whatsoever to lock down a driver unless they want a specific driver. And, we don't know. Maybe Tyler Reddick's already talked over to the 17, keeping his options open. So right now, it's just making sure that they don't make a move too fast without knowing what the atmosphere is going to look like in the upcoming weeks. Because I believe what most of us think, without getting too far off in this subject that we don't want to talk about, is we all are kind of expecting a settlement before December 1st. And once we see that settlement, if there's one that could possibly happen, I think then things will move very quickly on who's seating where. They're just waiting to ink the contract after all of that has been settled because of the uncertainty that's looming. One of the biggest things is the $1.5 million that's set aside right now that could be extra, that could go to the team. That $1.5 million could be invested into a driver's contract. And so, they may be looking at one tier type driver to take that seat. But if they get that extra $1.5 million and it's guaranteed next year to have a higher payout than what they were expecting, then you might see Spire willing to spend a little bit more money to bring in a higher profile type driver. So until the dust is settled, I think that you're just going to have to put silly season in question mark. As for Corey Heim needs to worry about Corey Heim because Toyota wasn't really, until this season, Toyota had showed no interest at all into elevating Corey Heim in his career. This didn't just happen this year. Corey Heim showed talent for the last 2 previous years.
Yes.
And goes all the way back to a conflict between him and Ty Gibbs when Ty Gibbs was riding around in
Exactly.
the Xfinity and Truck Series. So by no means would I feel like I would have to be a loyalist if I'm Corey Heim. And a cheater's always a cheater, right? Like that's what they say. Well, look at Tyler Reddick. Tyler Reddick went out there and found him another home to stay at a year and a half before his contract was out. You don't think he ain't sniffing around the cat box to see if there's something else out there that might help his career further down the road? You darn right he is. So if he's already sent that notice to Toyota, there's some big business that's got to be handled and fairly quickly if they don't get this this big question mark at the end of the year resolved quickly. I think I said quickly too many times. Quickly. I said quickly too many times.
You're on mute, Sharon.
Yeah, you're on mute.
Oh, okay,
There we
Jay,
go.
it's your turn.
Twice.
Sorry.
Oh, you want me to go? Okay. This is the thing about conspiracy theorists like Chris. You give just enough information, you got to think about it, whether you believe it or not. You bringing up Tyler Reddick leaving RCR for 2311. That's an interesting point. I got to give it to you. It at least made me ponder it with that. So yeah, and you're right. Tyler Reddick is definitely one. He's going to look out for Tyler Reddick. Corey Heim, again, I don't know. I know there was some comments made about the possibility of the issue between him and Ty Gibbs. I don't know if that's as big a deal as what maybe the media made it. I'm not saying there wasn't anything there, but I don't know if that's as what's held him back within the Toyota manufacturer organization program as what some are saying. One thing I do look at is, should he have moved up already? Yes, I think so. I mean, the Truck Series records he's blistering is because nobody else stays in the trucks that long when they're that good. And we haven't seen him. I felt he should have already been in the Xfinity for sure. And I know that's where the Ty Gibbs, who is it, Taylor Gray, that got moved in, and not Corey Heim. But the biggest thing I see it, and I know Toyota wanted it this way, was we want to have 6, now 8, 9. They're slowly building, but that limits you. Then you've got all these talented drivers all the way down to the ARCA East Series, but you got nowhere to go with them as you move them up. You know, the top is so funneled that you only have for Joe Gibbs. At one time, it really was, you know, Joe Gibbs, and they're still at the top. Don't get me wrong, but at least now you have the possibility options of 2311 if they stay around, Legacy Motor Club if they get their other charter or whatnot. So, but as a whole, there just isn't that many top spots at the Cup level unless you get some teams that are willing to go as open teams, and that's a whole nother discussion, which is why I don't like the whole deal. But
yeah,
it's really tough to not talk about it when it ties into everything. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it does.
The craziest conspiracy that I've heard yet is Alex Bowman to the 7 car, and that opens the 48 to somebody else. And look, Hendrick has paid contracts before for them to race in with other affiliates. If Rick Hendrick wanted to put his finger on either Tyler Reddick or Corey Heim, I think all he has to do is snap his fingers and make it happen. So,
I hadn't heard him to Spire, but I had heard him out of the 48 yet again. I mean, that's been a 5-year deal.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's ridiculous. Like, Bowman is a decent driver. I don't understand why he's always facing the axe handle, but it's definitely some things that I've heard through the networks and stuff that it could be a possibility. So, look, it's crazy that we're at this point of the year and we still have so many questions. And I think that one thing that we said at the beginning of the season was, whatever happens in this lawsuit, it's going to change, whether good or bad. It's going to change the landscape of NASCAR forever. And I really think that we're starting to see the real effects that this lawsuit is going to have on the environment, on the atmosphere, that we're so used to everything already being figured out at this time of year. As a matter of fact, most of the time you're already talking about potential moves for next season because everything's already tied up. But if we get 3 new teams next year, they're not necessarily going to buy the assets of the 2 teams that were shut down. So you're going to see a completely different landscape, a completely different budget, and the chairs will the game of musical chairs will definitely be a very fast and quick a situation for some.
Yeah, I think a lot does hinge on the lawsuit, and hopefully, I hope and I pray that you are right, that they come up with an agreement out of court. I'm not sure it's going to happen. I see Jay shaking his head.
Yeah,
and they've been so obstinate and so dug in that I'm really questioning whether or not that's going to happen. That the best ideal situation would be for it to happen. Whether or not it happens, I just don't know. So we'll have to wait and see. But a lot does hinge on the lawsuit. And I think that's why we're not seeing the dominoes drop. But here's the problem, guys. Now's the time that these teams are planning for the 26th season. They've got to have that time gap there to kind of prepare and get ready for the 26th season to be ready to go in February. And if we've got all these balls that are up in the air, it's going to be hard for them to get their 26th season kind of off the ground. So something's got to give somewhere down the road here. And unfortunately, my fear is that's going to make one side dig in even deeper with their heels. So we'll see what happens. But I know we've still got it on the topic on our topics list, but I've got some other news to kind of share with you guys when we get to it.
Okay. But may I say this real quick, Jay? I don't know about you, but if it goes into September and I don't have my next year's plans already set, I'm pretty nervous about what I'm getting into. I'm
Yep.
trying to sew up what I'm going to do the next year, well before the last minute details. But I think that what NASCAR learned with and what the teams have learned during the time of COVID was sometimes there's things that move the mountain, and you have to make these last minute decisions. And to be honest with you, I think that that's where they're at a stalemate right now. They don't want to make a decision until this matter has been resolved because of the implications that it may have. But outside of that, I had nothing else.
Okay.
Go ahead, Sharon.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, and you're right in tying that in, and we're overlooking. We're talking about drivers and teams, but what drives that? It's the sponsorships, and that's where too that ties in. Of they want to start their marketing plan or have that security. And I know that's come up with 2311. I hadn't heard anything more specific. They've been more focused on the drivers leaving, not the sponsors. But the sponsors also have that out. And if you're talking about, we're talking about going back to what I think we originally started, Daniel Suarez to Spire. Chris, there again, you got to, that's in there somewhere. That you're right, based on what the possibilities and what could happen, that they probably don't want to lock themselves into something and then have something better become available. So, I do think, honestly, I think that is a part of why Justin Hailie hasn't already been let go. And I understand he is a good racer. Things just didn't work out when it comes to that and everything. For whatever the reason, he's never found that home at the Cup Series. Had the good runs, which I think, again, that shows why he should be there. But we've seen it. Talent doesn't always carry you. There's so many other things that go with it. So I think had other things not been going on, I really think Justin Hailie would have already been replaced.
I agree.
Well, and group dynamics has a lot to do with it. It might not be the place for Justin Hailie.
Right.
He might be a better fit in a different organization. They released Rodney Childers, and it didn't help Justin Hailie. So we'll have to see what happens here. And it's been an interesting dynamic there. But let's move on because I don't want to get too late here with our next hot topic. So I forget whose turn it is.
I think it might have actually been yours, Sharon. I know you were talking about it. Might as well go into it because there was some more info on the lawsuit. So might as well get that over with.
Let's end on that one. Yeah.
Okay.
We can't not talk about it anyway.
Let me kind of get into the latest updates. What's happening in the suit? NASCAR's working contingency scenarios and options if the teams boycotted or did not sign the charter agreements came to light as a part of a filing from September 12th from 2311 in Front Row to dismiss NASCAR's counterclaim that teams illegally colluded to get better charter teams for the 25-31 deal. In its arguments that they didn't work together in violation of laws to obtain a better deal, 2311 in Front Row filed an exhibit of a NASCAR in-house meeting presentation that went through contingency plans. The presentation was called Project Gold Codes and considered various scenarios from short-term boycotts by teams to dissolving the entire charter system and NASCAR owning and building all the cars. The presentation is dated June 27, 24, as the teams in NASCAR were in the midst of tense negotiation. It was designed to present response options to NASCAR's leadership. The teams argue that the considerations show that NASCAR had all the leverage in negotiations if they considered doing away with the teams. NASCAR possibly eliminating the teams and hiring all the drivers and mechanics to compete was the most extreme response. It estimated an 18-month plan to put it into operation. It estimated it could do it at a cost of $505 million for 30 cars, $607 million for 36 cars. For 36 cars, it estimated $245 million in parts, $217 million to pay employees to build the cars, and another $30 million for pit crews and $70 million for travel. The plan included how the building would be laid out with various cars manufacturers still involved. If only some of the teams boycotted or dropped out of NASCAR, NASCAR had a list of potential charter buyers from IndyCar teams to Xfinity and truck teams to outside groups that even included the band Mumford and Sons. NASCAR would also have considered having Xfinity, truck, or ARCA races be considered as cup events if there were no other options on the race schedule. It also had a plan where it potentially could have had a race with a variety of cars, Cup, Xfinity, etc., and used aero devices such or engine rules to balance the field. NASCAR has until October 3rd to respond to the team's motions. There could be a hearing in mid-October. To me, what this is saying is that NASCAR was considering contingency options should teams boycott. Not that they were planning this as a plan going forward. It was to cover the contingency for boycotts. So I think 2311 wants to use that as evidence of antitrust suit, but they're not looking at the whole picture here and how that is being laid out, in my estimation. But what do you guys think?
Well, I'm not going to have a whole lot to say, so I'll jump in first. And this is where I go, yeah, did you think it was possible they might have a settlement? I did early on. At this point, I really don't. I don't like the direction it's going, and I think it's going to be bad, the outcome no matter what, which is what the judge has said. If y'all don't work it out, it's going to be bad. But with the way things have gone of what 2311 is brought out of, okay, NASCAR's trying to push us out. That's kind of misinterpreted. They're going that route. NASCAR came out saying, hey, your team, general manager, whoever he is, said they want the best option is for Jim France to not be here. I'm not going to go down that road. But again, I understand that was probably these things were thought to be private, which in this day and age, nothing is when you get down to it. So do I think anything that was a personal, like Sharon said, a personal plan? No, of that. NASCAR on their side is looking at, hey, we got to be prepared for all possibilities because we want to maintain and still move forward somehow. So I had different options of, and some of them, as you read there, Sharon, are just absolutely crazy in my mind. But again, you never know what's going to happen. So you got to be prepared, and they're trying to. And on the other side, again, 2311, I understand the frustration. They feel like Jim France is the problem. Do I agree with that comment? No. Do I understand just being frustrated and saying, hey, whatever, it happens. The fact that all this is coming out and that's where the lawsuit is at, and the judge said it themselves during the last hearing, I'm not going to put up with this type of behavior. That's how ugly it's gotten, which tells me they are nowhere close to even thinking about sitting it down and talking and trying to come to a settlement, which is what we would need. So yeah, I don't see it. I really don't. And what I do see scares me because I like our sport and want it to be successful. The one thing I will say that came to me over the past week or two, 2311 is saying they're doing this for the best of the sport and all teams, and that they can't make it as an open team. Yet they're asking for a permanent charter, which means nobody else can race unless they're an open team. Where are you getting your competition from? I don't understand that. I think charters need to go back away. NASCAR needs to find a different way to reward the regular, what we'll call the chartered teams, in a different way, but do away with the charters. Because again, when we're talking about possibility of other manufacturers coming in, I've said this, when we go back to the top 35 in points, you're limiting it. I mean, you really are. And I like, for the most part, dirt tracks, the fastest 20 whatever cars that show up that day for that race get in. If it's your top dog, they do normally have 2, maybe 3 provisionals from the series, maybe a track one, but it is open. You can race your way in. And I think NASCAR needs to go back to that and find a different way to reward the teams that are there on a weekly basis, whether it be points, money, whatever. They can still pay that out without it being a chartered team. I think the charters need to go away. When they came in, I said that there might be a problem. I liked what they were doing. They were trying to take care of the teams. And hey, if you decide to get out, you can sell something other than your inventory for pennies on the dollar. You know, as Chris said, that they may not even get bought up, especially now because they can't go to the Xfinity or ARCA because they're different. So I understood and appreciated that, but it clearly did not work. Man ruined it. Always, man ruins it. I'm a go to Chris or somebody else.
Yeah,
Okay.
look, I'm biting at the bit because I have reason to suspect, and this is only my opinion and not the opinion of those that are before me, but I feel like there is a reason why NASCAR was no longer public, and they relied on a private business strategy. And what I'm afraid, and this is my own opinion, what we're going to find out in a motion of discovery is there's already teams that may have been brought into the ownership of NASCAR, and we're not aware of that yet. That is the worst hand scenario that could happen. Is we find out in a motion of discovery that a team is privately invested into NASCAR without others being known about it. I do want to go back to something that I shared to Miss Susan and here in just a second. But if we can open up a deal for the teams, the best deal possible would be for these teams to literally buy into NASCAR so that they have a bit of ownership within the series. Whether NASCAR wants to play ball like that, we knew that they were looking for a $4 billion investor because they had talks with Xfinity. Xfinity was very open about their talks with maybe purchasing a part of NASCAR. Also, Disney was in talk. So if you take that partnership and you basically say, okay, we're looking for a $4 billion investment, can you get that from the teams? I think that would be an open an olive branch to kind of save this situation and get rid of the charters. But that doesn't pertain to what this lawsuit is about, or the injunction, or the counterclaims that we're hearing. And so, Miss Susan, do I have the right
Who are Susan and Mike? You two guys. I don't know what's between. Now wait, you called him Mike too, so you got to take your part in this. But yeah, it's been Susan and Mike tonight. I'm like, I don't even know who I'm talking to.
I'm sorry. Sometimes my mind gets a little.
Well, mine too.
Sharon, I'm very sorry. I don't know why I called you Susan. I guess you just remind me of Aunt Susan I had from years ago. Anyway, Sharon.
I hope it's somebody you liked.
Well, yeah, of course. Thank you, Mike. Sometimes or Jay. I'm sorry, Mike. Yep. Yeah. Anyway, all right. So what's going on here? Two NASCAR teams, 2311 Racing and Front Row Motorsports, along with Curtis Polk, co-owner of the 2311, are trying to get a summary judgment in a case involving counterclaims by NASCAR. Their motion says that NASCAR's counterclaims have no legal or factual merit and should be dismissed without the need for a full trial of those counterclaims. So NASCAR has basically made claims against 2311. 2311 wants to say that those claims have no true beneficial to the actual lawsuit that they have. The case they originally brought is an anti-lawsuit trust against NASCAR. The trial is scheduled for December 1st. What NASCAR's counterclaims allege is that NASCAR alleges that 2311 Front Row and Curtis Polk conspired to coerce or extort NASCAR into giving them a better contract and financial terms in the 2025 charter agreement. Key elements alleged by NASCAR include: one, that the teams and Polk coordinated to threaten boycotts, negative media campaigns, etc. Number two was that there was an agreement among the teams to limit competition, increase payments, and otherwise demand their preferred terms collectively when negotiating. And then it goes on to say what the teams are arguing in their motion for summary judgment. Number one, no agreement to restrain trade. They say they have no genuine dispute of the fact showing they entered into an agreement to restrain trade by joint negotiation. I kind of have a hard time with that one, Sharon. I'm really not sure what exactly that says. It says, in fact, they point out that NASCAR itself conducted individual negotiations with various teams that undermines the claim that teams acted as a united front to force NASCAR into terms. Economic condition justification. The teams claim that many charter NASCAR teams are losing money, 75% of them in 2024, and the modest changes in revenue sharing were necessary. It gets into the Curtis Polk involvement. NASCAR singled him out in its counterclaims as being central to the alleged conspiracy. The teams counter that Polk's role is overstated and that the evidence shows the other teams sometimes dissented or took different positions. Also, they argue that the harm NASCAR alleges comes from the charter system in general, which predates Polk's involvement. That means Polk could not have caused the systemic harm alone. Then it goes into the Gold Codes document. That was basically what Ms. Sharon was talking about earlier, where they basically had a game plan set forth, including boycotts, but also even going as far as NASCAR entering its own teams in competition. Remember, that was one of the things that was not agreed upon, was the fact that the France family could actually own teams. And this may be the
the contingency if there was a boycott, not as a general plan, but if there was a boycott, they would do that.
And you can see why the teams were kind of not wanting to get to allow the NASCAR family to actually be able to purchase a team, because that could eventually single them out into that situation, protecting their investment. Why summary judgment matters here. If the court grants summary judgment for the teams on NASCAR's counterclaims, those counterclaims are dismissed. The teams don't have to defend against them in the full trial starting December 1st. So, I mean, basically, if NASCAR's counterclaims are dismissed, it strengthens the team's legal position, but it also affects negotiation leverage. Having counterclaims hanging over teams could have been part of NASCAR's strategy. Clearing those would be helpful to the other teams. So I think that each of these little injunctions, each of these little counterclaims has really taken the focus off what the main lawsuit was about. And this is once again another distraction, another bit of mess that we're having to filter through to actually figure out what this has to do with the antitrust lawsuit. And I think that that's basically where 2311 is at now. They're trying to protect their cover story for the trial and not have to deal with the counterclaims of NASCAR saying that they created this mess as a conspiracy or a way to collude. I've read all the, okay. Yeah. So you read the documents.
Yeah, I've read all the documents, all the legal documents. Haven't we, Jay?
You've read them. I've tried to pay attention and understand them. It's way above me.
Yeah, it's a lot of legal jargon. So
yeah, that too.
There's a lot of legal jargon. There's a lot of positioning. There's a lot of spinning their point of view on both sides. So that's something to keep in mind here. A judge is going to see through a lot of that. So, we'll wait and see what happens. But, when I read some of these things, I have to look at what I'm looking at and what I'm seeing. So I'm not a judge. Okay. So I'm not going to see it the same way a judge sees it. So at this point, I'm leaving it up to the judges to make those claims, to make that decision. And I just hope they do the right thing, because I kind of agree with Jay here. He says, if I wanted to follow court cases, I'd watch LA Law.
which is the sound, yeah. I mean, Denny Hamlin played that as his intro. Good. Way to
really?
That one kind of got slid up underneath.
I don't listen to his podcast. I didn't know that, but it just came to me like
come out to to Law and Order.
Oh, I did. You're right. I did hear that. You're right.
Yeah. I just think that there's a lot of positioning going on here, and some of it is spin, some of it is based on fact, some of it is trying to make their point of view. And so the judge is going to have to wade through all of that and look at the facts and make that determination. So I just caution everybody, be careful what you're reading, because keep in mind the people that you're reading are also biased in what they're writing. So yeah, I can pull up something that's going to support my point of view.
Oh,
You
no,
can
that
pull
come
up
from ChatGTP.
your point of view. Pardon me?
No, I left my point of view completely out of it. That was straight from ChatGPT and what they felt like was in the article there. So all of that was
Okay.
Basically a breakdown of what the article was about and how
Right.
it specifically tied itself to the antitrust lawsuit, which basically, in summary, says that 2311 and Front Row Motorsports wants all of that counterclaim lawsuit to go away so that it doesn't create a more of a motion of discovery against them come the lawsuit time. That's basically what all that basically comes out
But
to.
it was 2311 and Front Row Motorsports that filed this latest claim, correct? It wasn't NASCAR.
Yes, that's their claim.
It was
that should
2311.
not be used in the court. That they should dismiss the countersuit.
And see,
Right.
NASCAR's got until October 3rd to file their counter claim on that. So again, there's a lot of spin. There's a lot of positioning here that's going on that I think we have to be real careful about. So keep in mind that a lot of these injunctions that are being posted right now have nothing to do with the lawsuit.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly right.
So that's the lawsuit is something that is totally separate and will be going to trial on December 1st if they're not able to come up with some kind of an agreement beforehand. Jay and I talked about it, and I don't know if you were here when we talked about this, but we were thinking, and I think Bob Pockrass has said this too, or maybe it was Jeff Gluck, I don't know. I've listened to so many different people, that something's probably going to happen last minute, midnight hour before December 1st arrives, that might be some kind of an agreement attempt. So we'll see what happens. Again, I'm not going to buy into the spin and the, positioning that's going on right now. I'm going to leave that for the judges because they are familiar with this kind of thing that goes on. And so, but I do think that we've got to be careful about what we're buying into.
I just got two more things to add. Again, look at the IndyCar deal. We talked about that a couple weeks ago. And again, you brought it to the judges. Listen to the judge. He said this isn't going to go well for anybody if it goes to trial. Work it out. Listen to the judge.
And 2311 keeps saying they're doing it for the other teams and everybody. They're not doing it for anybody because it's all going to hurt.
I'm just going to say, listen to the judge.
It's going to hurt everybody.
If ownership of a partial ownership was on the table versus a charter, I think all the teams would much prefer that, because then that signals a true investment and a return. As long as NASCAR is prominent, as long as NASCAR is wealthy, the teams are going to be wealthy. And I think that's a type of partnership and sharing that should be offered to the teams if the survival. Look, the day and age of
and there are probably other options that are out there as well. That's one option.
A billionaire coming into the sport to waste some money is really going to be hard to find in the next 10 to 15 years, I believe. It's just the market's just not there for that.
There's this bickering. Who wants to be part of that?
Right.
I mean, that's what this is all leading to. So
I agree.
And why would you want to buy into an organization that has this kind of in bickering? And I think having the teams buy into NASCAR, talk about inside bickering, it's going to get worse. It'll be worse than what they have now. So I don't know. They can't get along now. So why having them buy into NASCAR? Why that's a solution? I'm not quite understanding that. They've got to learn how to get along with one another and communicate with one another. And I think NASCAR's really trying to do that. They've made several concessions already. And I'm not seeing any concessions from the other side. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. What about the other part of this, which is the potential playoff changes?
Ooh, yes, I do want to talk about that. Cool.
Yeah, because that was another part of this is there's several potential playoff changes that they're talking about as well. Let me see if I can find my notes on that. Does anybody have something you want to talk about? Jay, you seemed eager to talk. Why don't you go ahead and start?
Well, one of the ones I initially heard, and again, it goes back to, and I said this of in favor of that, of going to, right now what we're under is a 3-3, now I got to do math again, darn it, 3-3-3-1. 3 races, eliminate, 3 races, eliminate, 3 races, you're down to the final championship for 1 race. So 3 races, 3 races, 3 races, 1. One of the considerations of being discussed is 3, 3, and 4. So that the championship is determined over 4 races. Kind of going back to the initial chase to the championship that it was called, of it was all the championships of a 10 race. It does still involve the eliminations. It does still narrow it down, but it's not all in 1 race. Taz brought up something of, after he explained it and I understood it, of a 1-3-3-3. The first race being a wild card, and you eliminate the bottom 4 in the first race, then go 3-3-3. I like on the tail end of the championship over 3 races. I still don't like the 4 eliminated after 1 race. You're putting your entire season and championship on 1 race. We've seen it. So many things can be a factor in 1 race, and I just don't want to see that on the front end or the back end. I don't want to see 4 eliminated in that first race, round or race, based off of 1 thing, because again, something that's not of your control can take that 1 race and your championship hopes are over. But it was interesting. I do think that, especially being that the drivers themselves, a couple of popular ones, both past and present, most popular, are campaigning for they're saying go back to the season long. I don't think we're ever going to do that, and I don't think the people that are saying this recall what it was like when they were doing that. But at least then it's over a 3 or 4 race, at least a little bit more of a, like you said, streak, not just hey, had 1 good race or 1 bad race. It's the consistency which comes into play. But I also like, and I want to get Bubba Wallace, and I don't remember if it was Harvick or Logano, one of the veterans, said it doesn't matter. Whatever you make, drivers are going to adjust. And that's where these people that are still throwing up, well, look at what the championship would have been had you used the old point system. When that old point system was in play, they raced a different way. In this day and age, you're racing for stage points, you're racing for wins, because that is the way this point system plays. If you change it, they're going to race a different way, so you can't compare points from that. It's the way it is. And I know Bubba Wallace was one of them. He said, I don't care. Whatever they do, I'm going to look at it and go, okay, this is what I need to do to be successful in this format, and I'm going to adjust. So, and I get that, but I do want to see it not be the championship decided in just 1 race, because like I said, that's a good or bad luck comes into play. The caution at the right time, and then you get into the conspiracies, can affect a race, So I do think it needs to go to a multi-race, whether it be 2, 3, or 4. I don't know if I want to see it any more than 4. I'd be okay with 4, 3, or 4. Maybe we need to go back to the 10 race. Everybody's in for 10 races, but unfortunately, Jimmy Johnson ruined that too, because he blew them away in 10 races. So I don't know. But I do think a little bit of change, that tweaking. I like the word tweaking, just minor. And there again, you got network TV and what they want. And this goes back to where we started the night with Kevin Harvick. What TV networks want, they want the playoff format, which, again, they're the ones paying the majority of the bills Who's getting what share is another discussion, but they have a say in it because they're the ones paying the bills. So got to listen to them
Okay,
to some degree.
Yeah, I mean, let's go back to the Carl Edwards wreck. I think it was at 2016. Like there was 4 cars, like literally at the last minute, vying for a championship, and I don't think it's broke. I don't think it's broke. I don't know why we have to fix something that's not broke. We're already moving to Homestead to make it a different place. I'm more in tune with changing the venue than I am of changing the format, and I've heard very few saying that. And even if we did change the format, I wouldn't want to not see what we're forgetting here. Let me go back to where my thoughts originally were. What we're forgetting here is those final 4 races displayed the best 4 drivers in the Cup Series at that point in time. And that's something that we're forgetting about, that last race is the best 4 drivers out of the last 3 of 4 races that's got it turned on. And some of them are relying on playoff points that they had accumulated throughout the year to get them further down through the stretch. So then you're messing with that. If you have an elimination in the first race of the bottom 4, then you might as well just start with 12 and cut your format down to a 9-race deal if you're going to go 3, 3, and 3. I don't think that the system has failed. I think that it's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. And I would hate to see us change a format just because folks want to see you put together your best 3-race deal. You're already putting together your best 3-race deal leading into the championship race. So you're literally chopping off the best thing for the network, which is to have 4 guys challenging for a championship at the end of the season. And I can go back to the Carl Edwards, Tony Stewart event where it was 2 guys chasing each other. That was great. But really the one that stands alone, and wasn't that Joey Logano's first championship? The one where Carl Edwards wrecked and then walked away from racing a couple of months later?
No, that was one of Jimmy Johnson's. That's one where Jimmy Johnson said everybody wrecked out.
One.
I was given a champion. Jimmy Johnson says he was given that one.
Right, that was 2016.
Because he didn't. He had the 3rd or 4th best car that day.
That's right. That's right. My memory. Sorry, Susan. I mean Sharon. My memory has not served me well today. Mike,
I'm sorry. I will never call you Mike again.
His mic off.
Okay, I kind of agree with that. I don't really think it's broken, and I know Mark Martin knows what it was before when we did the 36 season long championship. And to me, I don't understand where he's coming from, because I thought that we lost interest by the end of the season. We knew who the champion was going to be in September, and nobody tuned in for the rest of the season because it was a blowaway championship. And if you had the choice between the blowaway championship or watching the what do you call it, the NFL, people were switching over to the NFL, and NASCAR lost viewership. So to me, that makes the least sense of any of the formats that they talk about. I like the one that we have. I would be okay if they went to a 3 or 4 race championship, but I think you make a good case for keeping it the way it is, Chris. I like the idea that you feature those 4 drivers that made it through 3 rounds to make it to the final 4, and it is those 4 drivers that are racing each other for the championship. I can see where drivers might want to see, or fans might want to see, that be a 3-way kind of deal, and maybe eliminate 2 drivers after one driver after 1 race, eliminate the second driver after the second race, and then 2 drivers are racing for it at the end of, in the 3rd race, and you eliminate the final driver in that 3rd race. So I could see that being a good alternative as well. But why they want to go back to the 36 race championship, it was boring, people. It was not. we lost viewership during that time, and I don't get it. And it wasn't exciting. People didn't even, they tuned out in the middle of the race. Nobody was watching at Homestead. It just doesn't make sense. I can see why the networks want to have the chase format or the playoff format that we currently have, because it makes sense. It creates viewership. It creates excitement and energy around what's happening in NASCAR throughout the playoffs. So that's where I stand on all of this.
So I'm gonna talk to both of y'all here, and I'm gonna use the name Mason. I'm gonna combine Mike and Susan and go with Mason. With I'm making that joke. I forgot what I was gonna say. Oh no, Chris, you pointed out both systems going back all the way to the point system, 36 race system. I can think of one good battle, and that was with Alan Kowicki, Bill Elliott, and Davey Allison. When you talk about the chase format, which they originally introduced, of those years, there was one good battle, Tony Stewart and Carl Edwards. You're pulling one out of 5 to 10 years or even 30 years. So I'm with Sharon. It just don't make sense to go backwards. You said it. It's not broke. Can it be a little bit better? In my opinion, I do. I am one that feels 3 races, not just one. But I understand what you're saying. You're right. You got the 4 best. I just, like I said, of a lap car gets in the way of somebody, the caution don't quite fall right on one race for the championship, something that is absolutely out of your control. I think back a few years, we've been talking about Christopher Bell, how often he makes it a parts failure. Now, I get parts failures is a part of racing, but again, you're talking about the entire year and work on that one race, and it essentially was. It's not. We've seen it a couple times here in the past couple of years. You had to be perfect that day because you had to win that race in order to win the championship. And I get that focus, and that's, worked out really well. That for years it was, you won that race, had to win that race in order to win the championship. But that's a lot of pressure. Because like I said, there's just so many factors outside of your control. You have a bad pit stop, that's on your team. Yeah. Okay. But again, of debris on the track and it bringing out a caution at the wrong time for you, that's not in your control. I hate to see the championship determined that way, but I'm okay with it. I'm not against it. I just think it can be tweaked to be a little bit better.
Just think, Denny Hamlin lost a championship because they put too big of a cover over the front of his front.
See, but that was self-doing.
Race car.
That was self-doing. That was self-doing.
But that's what I'm saying, though. That's how championships are decided. That's how you have an undefeated football team like the New England Patriots go to the Super Bowl and lose to the New York Giants, who were a wild card. That's what brings the suspense. That's what keeps people involved. And I think that if any other way, you're counterintuitive to what the idea is, to make every single race count. Why would you let up from the gas pedal when it's a win and you're in policy? Why would you change the championship format for the final 3 races to undo that? Now what you've done in the final 4 races is you've put the best cars on the track into a championship. The best 4 cars are going to compete for that championship. It's a no-brainer for me. I don't want to go back to the Stone Age. I don't want to go back to dial-up internet. I don't want. I mean, I don't want a flip phone, as I almost said just a second ago. I would definitely want to continue the championship race. As I said, I just want to be like the NFL, and I want to change venue. Maybe after a year or 2, or even every year. I would love to change the venue every year, and I think that would be a great asset to NASCAR.
I think that is what they're doing.
Yeah, I think they are looking at that.
Yeah, Bristol. I mean, we raced New Hampshire one time in November because 9/11 happened. We can do things. We're racing in North Carolina the first week of February. Let's not make weather the most important factor here. And how we close out our season. Let's go around to different racetracks. Let's have a Texas thrown in there. Let's throw Kansas in the mix. Let's put Gateway in the mix. Let's go around. Let's go to Nashville and have that as. I mean, look at the stellar event that IndyCar put on in Nashville for their final race of the season. That was one of the best IndyCar races I've ever watched. It was just excitement all the way around. And look, Roger Penske's got it going on. He went to a lot more ovals this year than what they have in the past, and I think that's really going to drive viewership up within the IndyCar is by being more apparent on ovals. NASCAR better watch out. They've taken the other strategy and added more road courses. So there's somebody out there that's counterclaiming everything that's going on right now in NASCAR. Don't screw it up, NASCAR. Keep it like it is. Let's rotate the final race of the season.
Okay. Well, and like I say, I like that idea, but I'm okay if they switch it to a 3-race championship under the premise of eliminate one driver after each round in the first 2 races, and then have the last 2 competing for the championship in that final race. That's the only other thing that I kind of am leaning toward. And you're right, it's going backwards. Why go backwards at this stage of the thing?
Doesn't make sense.
It just doesn't make sense. And it wasn't fun then, and it won't be fun now if we go back to a full 36 race season. And I'm telling you, you know who the champion's going to be way too early, and people lose interest. They don't watch anymore. It's what it happened before, and it'll happen again.
And I'm right there with you, Sharon. Like I said, I'm not one screaming that we have fake champions or that they have to change it. But I certainly would be open to and see some value in the tweaking. But and I'm with you, Chris. I'm certainly not going back to all the various things you named, although I do have a flip phone. But that's just me and technology. Leave me alone. I'm old. So, yeah, like I said, I'm not one that's saying that who we have now is undeserving champions. Because, again, it's the format. They excelled at it. They made it happen. If we keep it the way it is, I'm going to be happy. I wouldn't be happy if we went back to a 36 race point standings.
I would be very upset.
About to explode over here. Like how is our champion insignificant when they literally were the best car throughout a 10 race season that's been, that's a playoff season. Like, sure, they might have gotten into the playoffs by some crazy, they were 24th in standings or something like Joey Logano. But Joey Logano put together the best closing finish.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter what you did in the first half of the game. It doesn't matter
Same thing
what
with
you
Tony
did in the
Stewart.
first quarter or the second quarter or the third quarter. What matters is there at the end. And that is where people who think our champions are insignificant because of our playoff program, get out of here, man.
They were more insignificant, I think, before because people would lay back and just kind of play it safe in a lot of those races, just to be there at the end. And it just wasn't a fun system. It wasn't.
Our system has never awarded the most wins as the champion, and I don't think that we'll
it
ever.
Does now.
No,
well,
we had Kyle Larson.
I hear what you're saying. Yeah, right.
No. I mean, Kyle Larson's won a lot of races, but he's only won one championship. So at least in our sport, we do have the ability to have a wild card. We do have the ability to. You look at Formula One, they very rarely do they have a real race to the end of the year. And most of the time is the guy who wins all the races. Like Max Verstappen, I think won 18 or 19 races one year. We don't want to see that in NASCAR at all.
Listen, I watched Clemson and what was the other team? Georgia Tech play this week, and Georgia Tech beat Clemson, the seeded team, and beat them by a long shot. So that was a good. I had loved watching that game. So the underdog story is what a lot of people enjoy watching. So don't take that away from us.
Right, I agree.
So
and from that aspect of you guys are right, and that's why I said I'm not on the bandwagon and it has to change. There are some aspects I think could be tweaked. But yeah, I'm with you. I don't want to see it go back to, and here's where my issue comes. It's from the fans or vocal people, whether or not they're even really fans, I don't know. I'm not going to get into that, but changing, of not knowing what they want. They wanted to see drivers race during the middle of the race. Oh, let's do stage race and give points. Well, that's stupid. Well, that's what they're doing now, is they're racing in the middle of the race for those stage points. You got what you wanted. Why aren't you happy? You don't want to see one driver dominate at Bristol and lead 800 and something out of 1,000 laps. You want to see chaos, the old Bristol. You got that this weekend. Well, we're not happy because it was tires, it was this, it was that. Man, all right, I need to quit.
No matter what,
I'm a grumpy old man now. Get off my lawn.
Back to you, Susan.
Hey, I have not messed up the names. That's not been me.
Okay, so where are we going next?
Home.
We're already home, aren't we? Do we want to do I don't know how much substance there is. I saw, and I don't have the article pulled up, but Hailie Deegan is apparently in talks to possibly come back to the Truck Series. Chris, your thoughts on that?
Sure.
Yeah. That's your thoughts? Sure.
I mean, it costs money. She's going to have somebody backing it.
That's all you got to say? I think everybody's getting tired.
Yeah, I mean, look, Hailie's had her shot. She went over to IndyCar, and obviously the money's run up there. If she had come in and turned some heads by being a great race car driver, she would have the opportunity. The reason why she doesn't have the opportunity is because she's really not that good. Natalie Decker had to face the same conclusion, that she's just really not that good. And it's unfortunate, but we do have some females that are getting really good, and one of them did really well in the Cup Series this year. And we talked a lot about Catherine Legg. So that's a true racer. And if I had $2 million to put into Hailie Deegan, or I had $2 million to put into Catherine Legg, I would definitely choose Catherine Legg because she is a bona fide racer and a proven contender. Hailie Deegan is a great poster board. She's a good spokesperson for Monster Energy or something like that. But unfortunately, she's not that great of a race car driver. So, if she does find herself back in the Truck Series, that's good, and I'm glad that Daddy found her some money. But if not, let's invest into Catherine Legg, who really showed this year that she's capable of running with the big dogs.
Yeah, I agree with that. Jay?
Yes and no. I'm just going to stick with Hailie Deegan. It's too late to get into that discussion. I will say this of Hailie Deegan, is she a great driver? I wouldn't say that. I think she is a good driver. I think that was one of the cases of, for whatever reason, everything didn't line up, and you got to have that. I don't care what driver you are. We talked about Justin Haley being in the Cup Series. There are some drivers that just aren't in the right situation. Joey Logano, Daniel Suarez, the list goes on of, you just got to get in that right situation. So I think she is very good, and I think she is good for the sport. And I agree with you. I don't know if I'd have said it as you did, but that charisma, poster child. I can't now. That's in my head. I don't know how else. There is a point to that, and that is an aspect of it. Again, that's kind of why I think things are against Alex Bowman, because he's not. Jimmy Johnson from that aspect wasn't, and so they struggled with that. You got to have the total package. Now, like I said, to compare Catherine Legg, and Catherine Legg is another one I think has done absolutely great, especially with the opportunities she's had. Again, had you put her in a Hendrick Motorsports car, I think we'd know a little bit more. But that goes true for Hailie Deegan as well. Danica Patrick comes to mind. I know a lot of people were against her. Was part of it GoDaddy? Was part of it she got pushed up too early because of that? Yes, I think she did need some more time to develop. When she got to the Cup Series in Stewart-Haas Racing, were they at their top game? Not fully, So there's two sides to that. I don't think you can always just say not a great driver. And I'm not saying she's great. I thought both her and Natalie Decker, that one might have been a little bit more of, I don't know. I think they were good, but again, just not right in the right situation. But we've seen that with other drivers, crew chiefs, whatever. So I don't like it when it gets totally put on the driver from that aspect. But I hope she does, because I think it's good for the sport, because I think it brings attention to the sport, and that is an aspect I look at. But then I also counter argue myself when Danica Patrick, and I hate to use her, but Dale Jr. was the same way. Brings eyes and attention to the sport, but guess what? If they're having a 30th place run, I don't want you to keep talking about them. I don't care who it is, whether it's my favorite driver, Chase Elliott, Dale Jr., Danica Patrick, Hailie Deegan. Yeah, if they're running 30th, don't talk about it all race. That annoys me.
Yeah, Hailie Deegan is one of those figures. Danica Patrick was a polarizing figure. Hailie Deegan is a polarizing figure. Catherine Legg is not a polarizing figure. I think people like Catherine Legg. What are you looking at me like that for?
He's old. He's trying to read.
Catherine Legg could be more compared to Danica Patrick than Hailie Deegan for sure. Hailie Deegan hasn't proved anything in the sport, but
She hasn't proved anything in the NASCAR's Top 3 Series. I will say that.
There we go. I like that. Thank you, Sharon.
Yeah, she did have some. She had one win, I think, in the ARCA Menard Series.
Right. Las Vegas.
She had.
That was in the 16.
I would like to see her come back to the ARCA Menard Series.
There you go.
But not necessarily NASCAR again. I think she had her chance in NASCAR. She was with a good team. It wasn't like she was with a second-rate team. And she just didn't make it. And maybe it wasn't the right situation, but it was the right situation for some of the other drivers that, were racing for that same team. They made something of it. Hailie Deegan didn't. And I think part of that was her attitude coming in. I think she thought she would take the sport by storm as a female race car driver. And when she got here and found out it was hard, she kind of lost interest. I did feel like she came in with the right attitude of racing and learning, but I never saw her really put that learning to good use. And that's where I took an exception with Hailie Deegan. I didn't see her making progress with what she was supposed to be learning when she was riding around. And so, yeah, she was in the sport. She brought attention to the sport because she was a female, but did she really progress as a NASCAR driver? And I didn't really see that progression with Hailie Deegan. If she came in, I do think Xfinity might be more suited to her than Truck Series. And maybe if she tried coming into the Xfinity Series again, but again, I just didn't see any progression for her. And that's what really bothered me about Hailie Deegan. I think she thought she was really good and she was going to come in and do better. But it never really happened. Was it the wrong team for her? Maybe, but honestly, she was with a really good team.
Right.
So I really have, let me just say I'm skeptical of her coming back into the sport. If she came into ARCA and really made some waves in ARCA and started winning races in ARCA, then wanted to move up into the Truck Series, I think I'd be more in favor of that. But she really didn't do a whole lot in ARCA. They moved her up into trucks, and it just didn't work out for her. I think she would benefit by maybe going into ARCA first, win some races, make some noise, but positive noise, not negative noise, by winning races and doing it that way. I think that would be more beneficial for her than coming into the Truck Series and still not going anywhere. So I just think she moved up too fast, and I think she needs to go back to the ARCA series first.
Yeah, as I'm looking over her stats real quick, she had 3 wins in the ARCA West series, dating back to 2019. Her first win was in 2018. Last win was in 2019. Outside of that, she's had no success in any of the other series that she's raced in. And if I'm trying to figure out, wasn't she with maybe was it Kevin Harvick Incorporated? Where was she at when she come into the truck series? It seems like she was with a pretty big stable when she came into the truck series. I can't remember where she was pivoted at.
She was with Toyota and then left the Toyota camp
Yeah.
and went to the Ford.
Right. When she went to the Xfinity, she switched from Toyota to Ford.
Yeah. So I don't know. I just think
now I'm trying to think of. I mean, you're right. It wasn't. I'm trying to think. I've drawn a blank.
Was it the old Trigon David Gilliland Racing?
No, because that was. It might have been. Now that you say that, that might have been.
I think it was with David Gilliland Racing. That's now Tricon Garage with
Right.
Ray.
I think you're right.
And then she moved to Ford, and I want to say, was that?
That was a mid-tier team at best.
Yeah, I can't even think of the team right offhand. So,
yeah, I'm drawing a blank on both of them now, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, she moved to Ford in 2020 with DGR Crossley. So that would be David Gilliland Racing. Okay. And then she cited Toyota's lack of available teams was the reason why she went there.
Yep. I remember that. Is that Bogey?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I don't know what he's barking at out there.
Yeah, it was David Gilliland Racing, I think, through the pandemic, and then she went with Greenlight Racing in the Xfinity series, and eventually moved over, I think, to the AM team or whatever it is.
AM Racing, yeah, she raced with them for a little bit too.
Right. So.
Yeah.
And I can't argue with either one of your perspectives on that as far as not exactly showing progression or whatever. Like I said, I just sometimes, like I said, it's whether it's a good team or not, just not the fit, and I go back to Daniel Suarez or Joey Logano. Joey Logano was with Joe Gibbs Racing. It just wasn't the right fit for whatever reason. So that's why
Daniel
I do
Suarez,
think
when he came up to the truck series, did well in the truck series. Those drivers did well in the truck series and was contending for championships and stuff.
And I was mistaken as Chris read the stats there. I guess that was a West Series race that she won at Las Vegas. I was thinking that was the actual ARCA Menards main series, but
she needs to race the ARCA Menards main series.
And I agreed with that. You're right, of the moving them up too fast, and I think that was the case with Danica Patrick as well. But again, the sponsorship money is what drives that. And I hate to discredit the truck series, but Richard Petty has said it does nothing as far as getting you ready for Cup because they're so different with the trucks, the hole they punch, the way they drive. And I've heard that from a lot of different aspects. This might be one and that's where I was excited when she went to the Xfinity. But, there again, it was kind of on the tail end, and I don't think she was given everything she could have been if she'd have come to the Xfinity first or directly.
Yeah, and I don't see her going up to Cup, to be honest with you. I think she could be an experienced driver if she developed her skill there. But I think she's got to come through the ARCA Menard series.
And I agree. I mean, that's a good place as well to like you said, show and establish it at least to a certain level before moving to one of the top three. And I'll go to Dave Moody on that of if you're not winning where you're at, what's the point of moving up to the next level?
That's exactly right. And ARCA, ARCA West drivers move into ARCA Menard series. ARCA East drivers move into ARCA Menard series. So because of the variety of tracks and the experience that they get in that series. So I think that's where she made the mistake. She didn't move into ARCA Menard series full time and really contend for anything there. Okay. Anything else you want to make sure we talk about quickly before we move on?
No, I'm good.
Did you see that Grant Enfinger has a new crew chief?
I did not. That was a new one when you put that up. Who is it, Dan?
Jeff Stankiewicz. He's been with Jeff Stankiewicz for many, many years. Apparently, Jeff Stankiewicz is leaving, and Michael Shelton is going to be the interim crew chief for him. So that's kind of interesting.
I take that back, and that's been 2 weeks because I forgot to message our associate pastor's name is Michael Shelton because I forgot. I messaged him and said, I see your moonlight.
Crew chiefing on the side?
Yeah, apparently I didn't know this. I do remember seeing that, and that's one of those you hate to see it right in the middle of a playoff run. But again, don't know what the reason that Jeff is stepping away. Would have liked to see him ride it out, or again, if it's one of those where he's going somewhere next year, and they're like, "Well, we don't want you here this year," then I don't know. So
one of those deals.
We don't know the whole story other than he is stepping away.
Yeah, and that they've been together for quite a few years. Okay. Anything else? I think maybe we can just go ahead and leave it there.
All right.
Kind of 4 predictions can wait.
Yeah, I know you, Sharon, like to wait until there's only 5 options left before you make your pick.
Well, maybe next week we can talk about it. We'll put it up higher on the list.
All right.
Okay, so let's do our roundtable here. Chris, you're kind of quiet, so I'll start with you.
Yeah, you can find me at Chris Creighton, Chris Helicopter Flag Creighton on Facebook or YouTube. You can find me at Flag of Caution on Twitter and TikTok. I am the father of that Why Not kid, so make sure y'all go check him out. And you can find me every Monday night right here with Susan and Bob.
Bob,
and,
cool.
Yeah. on Race Fan for Life.
Okay, Mike.
Race Fan for Life. Mess it all up. I am whoever I am. I don't know who I am this week of that.
I called you Sal earlier.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but that one I at least understand because, you come off and doing all the shows with Sal. So that one I at least understood where you were coming from. The Susan Mike thing, I was just like, I'm totally lost. I don't know what's going on.
I was lost on that one too.
Favorite aunt. Apparently it's favorite aunt. So you got that going for you. You can follow me on Facebook, Michael Hoosman, Mopar MJ8 on Twitter and Instagram. And for me, it is that time of year. I'm going to tomorrow and Wednesday do county fairs again in Tennessee with this jump and run. Really get into that. Haven't been able to do a whole lot of motocross yet this year. Hopefully get a couple in. As Jackson winds down, we did have Chase Howard win the Hurricane Area Super Sprint show there at Jackson on Saturday night. So maybe you'll hear that name more. You will hear it because he's in the ARCA Menards Series race at Salem this weekend. Stay tuned for that.
And it would be great if we could put together an interview with him before that race. So
we'll work on that.
Okay. I'm Fan4Racing site on Twitter and Fan4Racing blog and radio on Facebook, as well as our website at fan4racing.com. Do watch for more coming out soon. It's been a busy day for me today. We've done 5 reviews from the 5 races that took place this weekend. We did the interview with Robbie Keneally and our Hot Topic Sound Off tonight. So watch for that interview from Robbie Keneally to come out tomorrow morning. Jay and I are going to do previews for 2 NASCAR races and one ARCA race at Salem that are happening this weekend, and we're doing that sometime on Thursday. So watch for those to come out either Thursday or Friday. And then I'm hoping that Friday, Taz and I will be back together again for the fantasy report. He had too many honeydew things on his list this week, so we weren't able to get the fantasy report in. But I'm hoping that we can do that this week for the races at New Hampshire. So watch for that to be coming out this week as well. But catch all our reviews from this past weekend of racing, as well as that interview with Robbie Keneally. I think you'll really enjoy that. And then, of course, thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I know we had a steady stream of people off and on throughout the show tonight. I miss our All Sports All Day guy. I don't know what happened to him, but I hope he comes back.
I know he said his work schedule had kind of changed up, which was preventing him from coming on regularly. Yeah.
Okay. So, but we had a couple other people that were kind of joining in, and then we lost them too. So don't be afraid to comment in our chat room and give us your thoughts. We like having various points of view. And I know
give us all new names. We need new names. Just give us all new names. That's what fans. I'm asking you. You get to vote on our names.
Oh yeah, what are our new names? Okay, so
just don't call me Curly.
Don't say that, because you know it's going to happen. Next week I'm going to slip up.
Yeah.
So, okay. So I hope everybody enjoys their week. I look forward to the previews and the upcoming weekend of racing. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in. We do appreciate each and every one of you. And we hope you'll come back and join us again. So take care, everybody. Anybody else have anything to say before we leave?
Enjoy the week.
That's all.